Now, David, uh, similar topic, strangely enough, but you wanted to highlight some letters to the editor.
Yes, this is published on the UK Column main news channel, main news website at the moment. Letters to editor. This was in response to a report on 9th of January regarding Scotland's legislation to ban conversion therapy. So this person writes, I'm a sociologist and I've been a researcher on adult sexual attraction to children, and I published 2 books on the topic. During my research, men in the community, often unknown to any authorities, contacted me confidentially to say they were sexually attracted to children and thus defined themselves as paedophiles. Some of these men understood the harm that adult sexual contact with children causes to the children, and they did not want to act on their urges. They wanted help and therapy. One man described how therapy had enabled him to move away from his paedophile identity, and he's now happily married and no longer finds children sexually attractive. Other men told me of the horrific fantasies they had, um, but were at the time managing to keep under control. So she asks, would such men now be supported and affirmed in their paedophilic sexual identity under the new legislation proposed for Scotland? Um, Even were this made more like, would this make them more likely to act on their fantasies? Would they be denied therapy that aimed to alter their sexual behaviour? And she continued, I predict the next step will be an engineered form of children demand the right to sexual exploration with whoever they choose, including adults. I also predict some human rights lawyer will get involved, possibly including a man named Dr. Richard Green, a lawyer both in the US and UK, who was instrumental in getting homosexuality moved from the DSM-3, the third edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual in the 1970s, and subsequently they moved to redefine paedophilia as a sexual orientation. The DSM definition is now an illogical mess. And who more recently has been championing trans rights. I see a horrifying return to 1970s push to normalise child sexual abuse. It needs to be countered as strongly as possible. You won't believe how powerful this movement has been in academia for many decades. Very worrying statement. On a follow-up email, she said, in every population, as far as we know, an unknown percentage of people, mainly men, find themselves with a fixed involuntary sexual attraction to children. Very simplified, cultures can broadly respond in one of 4 ways. 1, no big deal. 2, oh, what fun. 3, you're sick and evil, we hate you, you're an evil monster, you're going to offend, it's only a matter of time, there's no help available, you and the children are doomed. Or 4, okay, we understand it's involuntary attraction, you didn't choose it, but you can choose how you respond. We will encourage you to come forward, offer therapy to deal safely and harmlessly with your sexual attraction and shift it to an attraction to adults if we can. The corollary is if you choose to offend, you will be punished severely. No culture currently offers option 4, although some charities in the UK do base their conduct on that. It's probably too late for our culture overall now to act responsibly. We seem to be set on shifting from options 1 and 3, neither of which could ever protect children effectively, to option 2, which is absolutely disastrous for child protection. Now, this lady will be, this is Sarah Good, PhD. She will be conducting an interview with UK Column shortly, and we'll go into these issues in much more detail. But I think it was a matter very much worth highlighting. The view towards the sexualization of children is very likely to be accompanied with a breakdown of the protection, the legal protection that is offered to children. It will be done via rights. It will be done via it's unfair not to. It will be done using all of the emotive language that we're used to seeing, and it will leave children horribly exposed and open to abuse, and it will strip them of the protection that they so desperately need. I think she's right to raise the alarm on that, and this is a matter that the column's going to be reporting on intensely over the next months.
Okay, thank you for that, David. Now, Brian, the question is, why are you in Scotland, and what have you seen since you've been there? So, first of all, we have a demonstration in Glasgow.
Well, yes, this was a demonstration about vaccine harms, but also really it was another freedoms demonstration with people pointing out that we are being more and more controlled by the state and our lives controlled. But a really fantastic day. If you're about to Oh, sorry. That was the freedom demonstration. We played a clip of that earlier on because, of course, there was a demonstration in London as well. But the second thing which took place yesterday was the Fornethy Conference, which David Scott has spent a great deal of time and effort to help set up. And my goodness, I'm pausing because it was an extremely emotional day, as a number of ladies were brave enough to come up on stage and describe their experiences many years ago when they were little girls of 5, 7, 8, 9, and they went through a supposed refuge called Fornethy. Many of them thought they were going there for holiday, but what they experienced was brutal and really very difficult to listen to. I'd like David to comment as well because I was there to listen and learn, and I was also given the opportunity to sum up towards the end of the event. But it was David who has worked very hard with those ladies to make it happen.
Well, it was a very emotional but really very tremendous day. The courage of the ladies who spoke was actually inspiring. I mean, more than one of them, you could see them, the nerves, the difficulty they had in standing up, but they did it anyway, and they spoke to their colleagues, the other women who were there. They told their stories clearly and beautifully and courageously. And I mean, I was struck. There's some things that really left a huge impression. Many things did. One of them was, as they described their experiences as little girls under a brutal, aggressive, sadistic environment where fear ruled. And they would describe what they did. The number of times as little children that they stood up to the brutality. They told the truth when they were ordered to lie. They helped a sister when they were told not to. The courage they showed both then and now is very inspiring. The day was the day as it developed, it got more and more positive as we started to talk about positive things we could do, and we started to talk about the next steps. So that was extremely encouraging. We will be putting this all together as a video. It'll probably take a couple of weeks to edit it all down, and we'll be putting it out as a single video of the Fornethy Conference. I hope people will watch. Some of it is a difficult watch. Some of it is upsetting. It has to be admitted, but overall, it was an inspiring day, and it was a privilege for Brian and I to be there.
Mike, if I could just come back in, we've got 3 images of the conference which we can pop up on screen. It was opened by a gentleman called John Shields. He's experienced truly horrific things with the establishment in Scotland over what happened to his own son. The second image, we've got David doing his role of organizer and liaison man, I think, with the Fornethy survivors. So he's miking up one of the ladies. Now, some of the ladies have agreed that we can show the footage. Some were happy to speak, but they wanted to remain anonymous to the wider public. So we will, of course, adhere to that. The final slide is a very interesting gentleman called John Halley. Now, he's effectively a Scottish solicitor, but he's also done a lot of work to do with child abuse. He's also worked for a short time alongside the Scottish Child Abuse Inquiry. It was very interesting not only to see how he reacted to the stories these women had to tell, but also what he had to say about the setup of the child abuse inquiry in Scotland. And perhaps I could just highlight for our audience that this Fornethy organisation was running for about 30 years. Girls were going there for relatively short spaces of time. It might be a few days or it might be a few weeks. On average, we can say with confidence there was at least 2,000 little girls going to this place, this big house, every year. That continued for 30 years. And so the reality is, over that passage of that time, possibly 60, 70,000 little girls brutalized. And as many of the ladies said on stage, what happened in a few days or a few weeks at Fornethy not only changed their lives, it often destroyed their lives and their ability to form relationships. Why was the event on? Because the Scottish Government and Police Scotland, of course, have shown a distinct reluctance to investigate or even take statements and investigate what the ladies are saying. So it's taken a lot of effort by the ladies themselves and David Scott and the UK column to start to give these very brave survivors a voice.
Okay, Brian, thank you very much.